Every year, I've been pretty good about taking some quiet time during the holidays to prepare for the new year. I love this practice so much, I'm gonna start calling it officially creative hibernation. So let me tell you what I'm gonna be doing this holiday season as we finally get to the end of 2020. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and welcome to Taking Back Friday. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. This is a space where we come almost every Friday to talk about knitting, spinning, weaving, and dyeing. I like to talk about the fiber arts and the importance of making time to make things, but I also talk a lot about my creative journey and my creative processes. So last week, I didn't publish an episode here because I was in the middle of preparing the keynote presentation for Vogue Knitting Live. So if you came and watched my presentation, thank you so much. Basically, I told 3 big chapters of the SweetGeorgia story so far. And the first story is about starting up this hand-dyed yarn business, getting overwhelmed and burnt out, and then starting again more intentionally. The second story was all about the dye production team and the dye studios that we have built over the past 15 years. So in that time, our dye studio or setup was moved 6 times, and each time we've tweaked our setup and it's become more and more efficient over the years. And finally, the third story was about how starting a family 7 years ago really led me to reimagining how I teach, and eventually it led me to starting the School of SweetGeorgia. Now, the reason why I share all those stories is because I talk about how important it is to take time to rest and reflect. That rest and reflection has been absolutely essential to me as I navigated many of these disruptions and these challenges and big life changes. I've learned that taking time to pause every 6 months or so to reflect and reimagine the way forward has really been so essential to my personal process. So every year, I spend a big chunk of time between Christmas and New Year's being really quiet and doing a lot of journaling and thinking about the year. This past year has been so intense for so many reasons, and I think that many of us here are feeling like we are really at that point where we need a really good rest. I know for myself, I spent a lot of time making things this year as a way of soothing my anxiety. I kept my hands busy, I kept making things, I made a lot of handwoven scarves, I knit a bunch of sweaters. I spun more yarn than I have in years, and I just feel like I've been in constant motion, and now I feel like I really need a long nap. So if you're subscribed to our SweetGeorgia newsletter, you'll see that we already mentioned that the entire SweetGeorgia and School of SweetGeorgia team is going to take a few days to stop, rest, and refuel before the new year. We're going to be closed from December 24th until January 3rd. And I'm calling it creative hibernation. When you spend so much time creating and outputting new work, you can absolutely feel depleted. So this is a time to physically rest and get your energy back. This is a time to be quiet and reflect on the year. Think about how you want to feel next year. I made myself some very general rules for this quiet time. So here are some of the things that I will be doing on my break and some of the things that I won't be doing. First is I'm going to try to avoid opening any email. I'll probably still answer a few messages on the School of SweetGeorgia forums because I really like seeing what people are doing there, but I won't be in like teacher mode and answering full-blown questions, and I'll probably save a lot of those for the January live office hours. Number 2 is I'm not going to go onto Pinterest or Ravelry or Instagram to see any new visually inspiring things. And it's not because there aren't wonderful things there, it's just because it causes inspiration overwhelm to see all the beautiful things that people are making, and that just makes me all sort of twitchy about all the things that I want to make too. And the whole point of this is to rest my brain. Number 3 is that I'm going to clean my home office and my computer from top to bottom. Since March, I've shared an office at home with my husband, and we have very different organizational styles. I tend to file everything away so that it's off my desk, but then I end up saving way too many things that I don't need. It's just out of sight, out of mind. and he tends to stack everything in piles on his desk. So we're gonna work through and clean everything up. And I'm also probably gonna be spending many, many weeks just sorting and archiving video files. So many video files. Number 4 is I'm gonna actually try to find some moments of quiet to do some writing and some reflecting. That might be tricky. Number 5, I'm probably going to spend a lot of time outside in the fresh air, going for walks, going skiing, and just being part of the world rather than being one with my computer. Number 6 is I am not going to beat myself up about any of the things that I didn't finish making this year. I know that I made some Make 9 plans and I didn't check everything off. And this episode was actually supposed to be about reviewing all the things that I made and all the things that were missed. But then I just decided to give myself a break. You know, I know that I made more than 9 things this year, and all of the things that I made, I enjoyed. And if there's anything that I learned this year, it's that you have to roll with the punches and things don't always go as planned. And that's okay. And finally, I am going to knit, spin, or weave if I feel like it. And if I don't, I just won't. Sometimes I feel like I have to take my foot off the gas and that it's okay to sit for a couple of nights without the knitting in my lap. It's going to be okay. The whole point of hibernation is minimal activity to conserve energy. Creative hibernation is not meant to be a time to generate tons of new ideas. It's more like a time to recover so that you have energy to create and pursue new ideas. Now, if you need something to do in the next couple of weeks as you are waiting for 2021 to begin, I encourage you to come and visit us in the School of Sweet Georgia. Maybe take a workshop during your holiday break. We just started releasing brand new modules for the Techniques in Tapestry workshop with JANNA Maria VALLEE. JANNA is our resident tapestry instructor for the School of Sweet Georgia, and back in June, we hosted a Zoom workshop with her so that she could teach how to weave stripes in tapestry. It was sort of a time when we were figuring out how to do Zoom workshops, how to do webinars, how are we going to transition to a new way of teaching given that we couldn't travel during the pandemic. But our intention was always to go back and film that content with her in person. And finally, we were able to get together to film in October at this new studio. So we reshot the stripes in tapestry content, plus added a few more techniques, including things like blocking wool tapestries, which is really like magic. And so refilming and reshooting all of this stuff with JANNA was fantastic. It allowed us to get really up close and look at what she's actually doing with the tapestries, and so you can see it very, very clearly. We also continue to release new modules of the newest spinning course, Spinning Up a Level with KATRINA Stewart. And the latest modules are about color management and spinning, as well as spinning for consistency. So I encourage you to have a look at both of those courses. Also this month, we've been really excited about watching people knit their Advent projects. And this year, we also had our first Advent weaving project for Sweet Georgia. And so I had recorded a tiny tutorial about how to use a fringe twister for this project. And I couldn't release it because there are spoilers in there for how the Advent scarf looks. And so I'm going to actually publish that next week when it's nearly the end of Advent. And so you can find that on the school website as well. So we have lots of plans for the new year, and just this morning I finished working with Debbie Held on a new blending board workshop that's going to be coming out soon, and I cannot wait to share that with you guys. It's like, oh my gosh, just watching her pull this fiber off the blending board in this workshop, all of it just looks like candy and you just want to spin it right away. She's gonna send me, she's gonna mail me, because we were filming. Debbie and I were working on this blending board workshop at a distance. So basically she's filming at her home in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm here in Vancouver, and we're collaborating over Zoom to film this content. And then she's going to mail me all of her little beautiful blending board Rolags so that I can photograph them. So I'm just so looking forward to seeing them in person. Can't wait for you guys to see it too. And finally, if you have ever wanted to work with us at Sweet Georgia or the School of Sweet Georgia, we are going to be hiring. In the past year, our community forums have become really active and there are a lot of conversations happening there. And so to make sure that Sweet Georgia is really present and responsive in the community, we are going to be hiring some moderators for our community discussion forums for the school. So you can keep your eye on sweetgeorgiayarns.com/jobs if you are ever interested in joining us and our team. So that is it for this week, this month, this year. I hope that you will be able to reflect on this year and find some good in it. I hope that you'll be able to spend some time thinking about the things that have brought you joy and brought you energy. And I wish for nothing more than for you to have a wonderfully warm, safe, and restful holiday. Thank you so much for supporting Sweet Georgia and the School of Sweet Georgia this year and joining us in record numbers. And thank you so much for supporting this channel and coming back week after week to spend your Fridays with me here. Honestly, I love sharing my favorite parts of the fiber arts with you, and I have so many plans and ideas for the new year. If you are interested in what we are doing at Sweet Georgia and the School of Sweet Georgia, I really encourage you to subscribe here so you can get notified when we have new content. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the new year. And now I'm going to go take